Good afternoon, boys and girls. All right, for our grammar this week, we are going to be concentrating on different parts of speech. So you're going to have to ask yourself a question. Is it a noun, verb, or an adjective? Let's review, okay? So, for example, rose. What do you think of when you think of the word rose? Do you think it's a noun, a verb, or an adjective? Well, if you thought of this, you might have thought of a rose, a flower, and that would be a thing, which would make it a what? Correct, a noun. But if you thought of the color rose, a rose color, then you would be describing something, and that would be a adjective. Could it be used as a verb? Well, have you ever heard of maybe people rose from their seat for the national anthem? Well, if someone rose from their seat, that is being used as a verb. So depending on what the sentence is and how you are using the word rose, it could be a noun, an adjective, or it could be a verb. So let's think about the word rose. Let's try to create some sentences. So I'm thinking of my pictures on the last slide, and I'm thinking of the girl got a rose for her birthday. Or mom used the rose-colored paper to wrap presents. Or maybe the crowd rose from their seats for the national anthem. Well, if I use it that way, the girl got a rose for her birthday, rose is being used as a noun. If mom got the rose-colored paper to wrap presents, we're using rose as an adjective. It's describing the paper. But if we said the crowd rose from their seats for the national anthem, well, the crowd is doing something. It's an action, so therefore it's a verb. Wow. Can you think of any other words that can be used as a noun, adjective, or verb? Let's try the word home. What do you think of when someone says the word home? What comes to your mind? The first thing I think of is this, a house. It's a home. It's a thing, so it would be a noun. Now let's see. What else can I think of when I think of the word home? What about home plate? Home is describing the plate. It is home plate. So if it's describing that plate or that base, if you're a baseball player, it's an adjective, right? It's not first base, second base, third base. It's home. Home plate. Why would I put salmon under home? Well, salmon home to spawn. That means they go to the same place every year to lay their eggs. So if they're homing or home, it means they're going home, which means that you would use that as a verb because they're doing something. They're home. They're homing. Let's use these in sentences now. The family bought a new home in the suburbs. He pitched the baseball right over home plate. The salmon will home to spawn. All right, well, if the family bought a new home, you're using that as a noun. The home is a thing. If he pitched the baseball right over home plate, you're describing the plate or the base, which means it's an adjective because adjectives describe things. The salmon will home to spawn. That means they're going home. They're doing something. You're using home as a verb. Wow. I wonder what other words can be used as nouns, adjectives, and verbs. Well, boys and girls, we have quite a few sentences here, and you need to decide, is the underlined word being used as a noun, a verb, or an adjective? Well, take a look at number 1. Tara picked a fresh rose out of the garden for her aunt. Well, we already used the word rose. How is this sentence using the word rose? You're right. It's a noun because it's a fresh rose. It's a thing. Number 2, do you know anyone with a rose garden? Well, rose is a noun, but this is a rose garden. And rose is describing the garden. It's what kind of garden. It could be a vegetable garden, but this is a rose garden. So therefore, it's an adjective. And then number 3, the sleeping bear cubs rose and patted their mother for attention. Well, we know rose can also mean to get up. So if the cubs rose, they probably stood up to go bug their mother, right? So that would be used as a verb because it's an action. All right, the other words on here are book, corner, yellow, and baby. Have you ever thought of any of those words as nouns, verbs, and adjectives? Read the sentences, and I want you to answer that on your own, and then submit it back to Schoology. All right, boys and girls, have fun with grammar today, parts of speech.